every founder at some point hits a revenue ceiling. They get to a point, and for some founders, it's 500,000. Other ones, it's 5 million. Some of them, it's 50 million. But at some point, you, I, all of us listening get to a point where we're like, there's some type of ceiling here that maybe I can't get past just me or my team. We need some help. And what's usually holding them back is some type of skill set that they don't have within the organization. And that could be, leadership, executive presence, could be CMO, could be CEO, could be CFO, COO, and whatever the hell type of C's there are out there that I didn't cover. And that's where Michael gets called in, him and his team. He's been in 20 years in executive leadership experience across sales, marketing, revenue growth, business strategy. And what I love about Michael is that he has started, which I didn't even know this when I first met you, you'd started multiple businesses and founded them, and even had one that was at least one that was a multi-million-dollar business back when you were young. And I found that out when I came to your house and you were telling me about what you're building and what you're doing. It was really cool. And I was like, how do you know how to do all this? And you're like, I started a multi-million-dollar business that turned into this. And so I want to get into a little bit of that at the end, because I'm curious, because that's an interesting business and you've used it in your personal life too. So Michael Grudecki, co-founder of the Fractional Executive Network. Welcome to the Founder Talk podcast. How you feeling, brother?
Alex, I'm excited to be here and thank you. And you hit something right out of the gate. While I was young, I think as an entrepreneur, you have to stay young, because if you don't stay young, you're not learning and you get set in your ways.
That is good. We were talking about retirement the other day, and I was talking to some of my clients and their founders, obviously. And I was like, are you guys ever going to retire and just like kind of completely pack it in? And they're like, no, I think I'll always want to do something. I think there'll always be some type of project, or maybe I'll do the business, but I slow down to 2 or 3 days a week, or maybe I start that side business or other thing that I always wanted to. But I think having some type of, it kind of keeps you young, right? It's like having kids is the same way, It's like you got to have something you're kind of working towards that's keeping the energy going.
For sure.
Right.
And that's really what the Fractional Executive Network does. We actually have a group of individuals right now. We're floating at 10 for our first year. We capped it off at 10, where these are seasoned executives that do not want to retire, but they're done with the tour of 50, 60, 70 hours a week, being on an airplane, spending more time in a hotel, collecting miles, both from the airlines and the hotels, than collecting memories with their families.
That's good. So let's talk about that, because I wanted to dive into what are some of the most common mistakes that businesses or business owners are making that are preventing them to get to the next level in revenue? What are some of those ceilings?
So you referenced earlier a business I had started, and I actually made one of those mistakes. I built the brand around me. I had a very talented team, but most of the individuals that came in wanted to work with Michael. It wasn't intentional, but I was that typical owner. I had control of the business. I didn't want the business itself to fail. So it was
what
personal.
Was
So it was Vignette Home Decor. We were in business from 2007 to 2015. And it was originally starting in as an online business. We were going to be a design company in a box. Go to our website, pick the look you want, and we're going to mail you the box with the colors, paints, fabrics, etc. We quickly went retail. And at that point, right out of the gate, I learned businesses had to be agile and they had to shift.
So originally you would look at it, I would send you a picture of this room, and then I would say, this is what I want to do. And then you would send me all the stuff.
I would send you all the stuff. It was going to be in a 24 by 24 inch box. It was going to be shipped to your house. You pick 2-day, 3-day, or ground. And next thing you know, you open it up and you had 2 hours of a design consultation on the telephone, because we weren't so sophisticated where we were using Teams and Zoom and all of those great tools.
This was back when?
This was 97. Or no, I'm sorry, 2007.
2007. Okay. That's a different world back then, even, believe it or not.
Oh, it's definitely from a technology standpoint, e-commerce, et cetera.
Yeah. Okay. So you started it as, going back to the story, you started as kind of, hey, we're going to ship it out to you. And then you made something happen where you made a pivot.
We had to make a pivot. So my husband, Dan, was coming home every day to 4, 5, and 6 cars in our driveway. And he would say, hey, it's raining. No offense, but I'd like my garage spot. If possible, do you think I could get home? He never knew which clients were sitting at the dining room table, kitchen table. Sometimes I would have one client in the dining room, one in the kitchen, one in the living room, and one in the family room, and be running from person to person to person. Within about 9 months, we realized we had to pivot. We had to go retail. If we didn't, I probably would be divorced right now. And I don't know that the business would have took off and really gained the momentum that it did, becoming a brick and mortar, which was a risk. And it was a scary risk.
So why were they coming to the house? They were doing the consults there, or what were you?
So immediately I leveraged friends and neighbors to promote the business. I figured no better testimonial than someone who I could work with face to face to get those referrals online. So the online business, while it was slowly picking up traction, it was really the local community in the western burbs of Chicago that is where we got our traction, if you will.
Okay, so they're coming to your home,
To
sort of
my
the home
home, which
office.
was
You don't have a building.
awkward.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I always tell people I started this podcast in my bedroom, and it was like, and it wasn't like it's one of those bedrooms where like there's an office to the side room. No, like you walked in, and like if we had looked this way, you would see my bed right there, and that's where it started. And people would come in, and they'd be like, "Wasn't it weird that you invited people in your bedroom when your bed's?" I was like, "Yeah, it kind of was," but that's just where you start, and then you build it out, and then we got an office, and then we upgraded, and then here we are today. But I think that's cool, man. And so, and then you got to a point where you're like, all right, we don't want, and your husband's like, all right, we don't want people coming to the house. I can't even park my car in the damn garage because we got so many customers coming going.
Yes.
So then you decide what to get the brick and mortar. You decide to actually get a business, an office, and then you're going to have consults there. And then are you going to their place to show them what to do, or are you still giving them the kit to go and do it themselves?
So we actually went retail. We started setting up displays or vignettes, thus the name Vignette Home Decor. And clients would walk through the shop and they would take a look at different room settings. We realized walking through, the client would say, I don't want to go out and shop for this sofa or this lamp. Can I just buy it through you? So it quickly evolved from a concept in a box to starting to sell the product right off of the floor. But the business didn't stop there, because the clients needed individuals to hang the photos, to paint the walls. Next thing you know, I went from, here, let me recommend a person, I got a guy, to we are the guys. And that's where we morphed for our second time into general contracting. In a matter of 3 years, we went from a concept of buy it out of the box for $100 to running construction projects that were $25,000, $50,000, $100,000 plus. Never thought in a million years, one, the business would transform that quickly, and two, we would gain a loyal following in the western burbs.
Wow. And that's a good example of just listening to your customers and providing products or services that align with what they actually need. So all you guys did is say, hey, we're bringing something to the marketplace. Then your customer's like, actually, we'd love it if you could do this. Hey, I don't want to spend time doing this. Can you guys handle this? And then pretty soon you transform into other businesses. We've done the exact same thing, by the way. Yeah,
definitely. It's voice of customer.
That's right.
And if you're an entrepreneur that's going in because you are going to change the world, but you're going to change the world your way without listening, don't open your business.
Yeah.
Because if you're not going to listen to your audience, who will be on that journey with you, you're not going to have an audience. The same holds true really with the investment. When I look at the first lease, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm moving from my dining room table and my kitchen table to paying $3,000 a month for a retail location. What am I going to do? Very quickly, I reminded myself, being an entrepreneur does not come without risk. But there's a famous quote, what would you attempt to do if you knew you could not fail? I went in with that mindset because I wasn't going to fail. I wasn't going to make a large profit my first, second, or third year. I was going to break even. That was my only goal, break even.
And then that turned into a multi-million-dollar business.
That was profitable.
Yeah.
And that's the key.
Yeah.
It had to become profitable because as much as I enjoyed starting the business and I got that high, it was like a euphoric feeling at the same time. I also like nice things. I think like most people do, like the idea of going on a vacation or retiring. Those were key to me along the way. But again, it took a lot of risk.
And that business is where today? You're not currently running it, right?
So during that time, as I mentioned, I built the business around myself. I made the decision.
Back to the problem, the mistake. Yes.
The problem I learned from. Because I built the business around myself, I never had a day off. I was 24/7. I could not go out to dinner in the local community. I couldn't go out to dinner within a 25-mile radius of my home without 90% of the time running into a client who wanted to sit down and have a drink
Mm,
or share their experience with me. And
yeah.
don't get me wrong, Alex, I was grateful. I was grateful that my clients and I connected and we were able to work together because they changed my life. I changed their homes, but I needed to take a step back. It just made sense.
Hmm. And so going back to some of the big mistakes that you see, and
Yes.
maybe even to stay on this one right here, the one where you're the bottleneck. In a lot of ways, what the mission that we're on with this show is to help founders build businesses that are business assets, not
Yeah.
jobs. Because I've done this, you've done this, we've all done this to a point where it's like, we've got this business. Like, really, I just have a job that I'm the owner of.
Right.
It's like, so going back, what might you have done differently? And then we'll get into some of the examples that you might help current companies with. But what would have been the difference maker? What would you have done now looking back?
So, because we started the Fractional Executive Network, I am actually leveraging those mistakes and not making them a second time. The first thing I did was worked with my co founder to hire a CPCO, a Chief People and Culture Officer, to hold Dan and I accountable, to make
Boris.
sure when we start this business that it's bigger than Dan and I. We look at it as a community of individuals. We don't have all the answers. When you're young and you're naive, you think you can solve the world's problems on your own. When you hit my age, and let's just go 26, even though it's 52 this year, we're still going to stick with
You
26,
strapping young 26-year-old.
right? Um, you find that by having the right people around you, your business is going to accelerate quicker. While you may own the business, everyone has skin in the game. The fractionals that are on our team have just as much to lose from a reputation standpoint as we do. So, starting a new business, surround yourself with good people. Have that one person who can put you in check and keep you on the rails. That would be the biggest thing that we tell our clients today. In fact, to work with us, that's the first step in working with us. Having our CPCO team, which includes the people and culture officer, our HR officer, and our training officer, go into their organizations to make sure they're actually ready to receive that information.
Why do you think that? Like, what is the number one reason that business owners are still the bottleneck of their own business? What do you think it is?
It's their baby, it's their vision. I don't know very many people who want to hear that their baby's ugly or that they've taken a direction that potentially is putting them at risk. I don't truly believe any business owner has bad intentions. I think every business owner is fearful of that loss, but what they have to plan for. And this goes back years ago. I haven't even shared this with you, is that I taught at Wabanzi Community College for
Mhm.
4 years. And one of the courses was entrepreneurial finance, one was entrepreneurial marketing, et cetera. And during that time, and it was after I'd already started Vignette, I realized you have to go into your business with your succession plan. You have to plan for the worst when you're first getting started so that you're proactive versus reactive with your levers. And I think so many businesses appreciate the idea of I bake cakes and I bake cakes well. I'm going to start a bakery. But there's a book by Michael Graeber called The E-Myth that says just because you bake cakes and everyone loves your cakes, don't just become a baker and open a bakery, because there's more than baking cakes. There's the marketing,
Yeah.
the dealing with the day-to-day operations, et cetera. And these businesses somewhat forget that in the beginning.
So as a new entrepreneur, when I started Impacts, which was my marketing advisory strategy coaching company, I'm still running today. That was back in kind of late 2019, early 2020 officially. I made the mistake of and I was just a new entrepreneur. I had never done
Right.
business before. I was coming from corporate and still working my corporate job at the time. I just kind of got into business, was like, hey, I have a problem that I can solve for other business owners and companies. I'm pretty good at this skill. I'm going to work on the skill, solve more of those problems. Never for a million years did I think, what is the plan to scale this past myself? And I think that's really the mindset that you pointed to that you have to get into is this isn't about me. It's about where does this thing go? what is the vision behind this? And I think it also is like, what do you want it to be? Because there's not every company and not every person wants to build $100 million company, right? A lot of us don't. But what does the vision look like past yourself? And I was always like, with Impacts, I was like, just work hard, grind, get better, and eventually shit's going to figure itself out. And I think to a certain point, that's somewhat true. But to a certain point, if you can go into it, which is what I did with Podcast Builders, I was very intentional. I was like, no, the team, the vision, the mission, this is bigger than just me. We can transform this entire thing. We can have real conversations, can change the world. And we want to help facilitate that, right? Like I just thought bigger because I'd been through and made the mistakes from the first one of just being like, just do the thing and service the client and get the revenue, So I think it sounds like you went through that too. I think we all do. And I can see the intention that you're building the company now with, because I see the team and I met some of the team members, and you're really taking time to build a foundation before you just go out there and start trying to win a bunch of revenue.
Vision and mission are key. If you would have asked me that 20 years ago, I would have thought it was corporate fluff.
Yeah.
Now,
a lot of it is. In a lot of companies, it's a writing on the wall. And that's,
it is. And if you don't live by your vision and you don't live by your mission and you don't embrace those and bring people on who also embrace that vision and mission, your business may become successful, but it's going to be a bumpy ride. It's pretty interesting because we put our team together at the Fractional Executive Network over the course of the past 8 months, but we were intentional. As I mentioned, we hired a CPCO first, and we wanted to make sure we all believed in the same end goal. And our company's mission is that we want to, at the end of the day, create the next generation of responsible business owners who realize they're not going to do it on their own. Mm-hmm. They may be lucky enough to, but without the people in their organization, they're just one or two individuals trying to start something versus a team of individuals that are actually going to achieve it. That's our mission.
What do you say to the founder that's struggling with their mission or vision? They're like, I have a team, but they're not really, I don't feel like they're really bought in. Maybe they don't even know the mission or vision. It's been a long time. They're going to do a refresh maybe, or it's like, we got this thing. I don't think company employees even know why they're doing what they're doing here. What is your advice to those leaders out there?
So, I don't even start with advice because you can see it on their face.
Yeah.
Most of them are burnt out, or they're just in the early steps of founder fatigue. Every founder will go through it. Mm-hmm. You're going to second guess yourself. 2 weeks ago, I was second guessing myself. Did I make the right choice? It's at that moment when you ask that question, you'll either see their eyes light up and they're ready to transform their business to the next level, or you're going to see them cave in and decide, nope, I'm doing it the way I should. It's those individuals that light up that we start to recommend just stepping in a couple hours a month. We have something called an advisory model where we're there 4 to 8 hours a month and just listen, because that's what they need. A sounding board that's not going to judge them. That's individuals who have been in their shoes, and then say, this is how we can take you to the next level.
But let's say they are ready. What would your advice be? They're saying, I'm ready to go. I'm tired of doing this. I want to do a mission and vision. I want to take this seriously. I want to get my team re-energized. How do you think through that? What are some of the first kind of couple things that you think are important to do? Because it can easily just become like we talked about, and we saw this in corporate. I was in corporate, you were in corporate, like you see it. It's like, yeah, the vision's on the board, the mission's on the board. It's like no one talks about it. It's not really part of the culture. It seems like fluff. And then there are some companies where like you feel it. The moment you walk in the door, you're like, holy shit, this is real.
So we go directly to the last chapter in the book. What does done look like? What is that pinnacle? Is this going to be a lifestyle business for you? Is this a business that you're going to sell? Is this a business that you're going to pass to your family? Because if we don't know where we're going, we can't fill in the blanks. So many businesses say, let's look at the next 90 days, 1 year, and 2 year. That's great. But again, where are we going on vacation? I can jump in my car and drive for 4 hours. Am I going to Wisconsin? Am I going to Indiana? Am I going to Iowa? Because those are 3 very viable choices. So we look at the end and work backwards. And then from there, we recreate that mission, that purpose, that vision based on what the end goal is.
Do you think you can build a business as a sellable asset and build it as a lifestyle business at the same time?
I personally do. There are people who will disagree, but I think at the end of the day, you can do both at the same time because life takes us in very different places. I started a business out of a box from my dining room table, turned into a multi-million dollar general contracting business. It took a life of its own. And I believe that it can happen the same way as you just asked.
I do too. I'm on a mission to do it right now. I think you are
Yeah.
too. And we have kids. We have daughters that actually go to the same school, same grade, and
I
we were hanging
know,
out the
which
other
is
day.
wild.
Had a great time.
That's
But
wild.
I think so too. I think so too. I think you do have to be intentional. I think you do have to, like anything, you got to make sacrifices in certain areas. There are times when you may spend time with the daughter or the kids that you could have done 3 more meetings, but it wasn't worth it. It was like you're only going to have that moment with that child or those kids
Absolutely.
at that time, and that moment's gone forever after that. So I do make sacrifice, well worth it. You're never going to look
Yeah.
back and be like, I wish I'd have made an extra like 100 grand or had an extra, few clients on my, no, but you will go back and go, man, if you didn't spend time with your kids, I think you will go back and go, I should have really been more present. I should have been at the games. I should have been at the recitals. I should have been pizza movie game nights. I should have, and I've always really tried to value that and say, and also I think there's stages of your life. There's seasons where the kids are a little bit
Absolutely.
older and now they're more independent. They're doing their own thing. And now you've got all this time and it's like, okay,
Absolutely.
so yeah, I think you can build a lifestyle business. I know you can. You can build a lifestyle business and a business that's a sellable asset one day that you can pass down, you can walk away from, or you can sell, and you can do it at the same time. I think it starts with you have to believe that. You have to really say, absolutely. And there are other people that have done it.
There hands down are other people who have done it. I look at my grandfather. My grandfather was also a serial entrepreneur. He
That's
had
cool.
restaurants. He had retail businesses. He had construction businesses. The man worked 7 days a week. He went on an airplane ride once a year. And that airplane ride was only for a couple days because he had to get back to the business. And when he passed, sure, he had customers who would come and say, oh, we're sorry for your loss. But what did he really lose? That's why when we sit and we talk to entrepreneurs, this idea of businesses being connected 24/7 to me is absurd.
I agree.
I don't know. And I'm happy you agree because I think you and I are on the same pages with a lot of this because I think we've hit that point where wisdom is finally setting in and we realize that you do not have to be on 24/7, especially if you have a good team. You put the right people in place, they are going to have your back. We recently lost my mother-in-law in April, and we were a new business that was getting started. We were only 5 months into the business, 6 months into this business, and we thought, okay, we have to balance personal life and business. We had the right team in place. We already at this point had 7 of our fractionals who were sending us text messages and Teams messages saying, disconnect. We are not going to reply to you while you're going through your grieving process because we have the business and we are moving it forward. 15, 20 years earlier, that was not an option. I can remember the day with the furniture store when we got into general contracting, when we adopted our beautiful daughter, Emily. I was a new parent, 3 days old, about 2 hours of sleep. And we had 60 hours to get ready, nursery, from beginning to end. And of course, being a designer at the time, it had to be something magazine ready because clients were going to judge. I actually had a client call me and say, everybody has children. I need my dining room done because Easter is 2 weeks away. While I had a team that could assist, the brand was built around me. She would not work with anyone else. And it was at that moment I vowed never to put the business ahead of the memories that are going to really mean something at the end of the day.
I think business owners, some of them wear being so busy as like a badge of honor
It's not.
on their shoulder. And it's like, I'm so busy. I've got this. I'm maxed out. I'm not taking care of myself. I'm hardly saying, it's like, that to me means you just don't have your shit together.
Absolutely.
I mean, and again, you could be going through a season. So sometimes you're in a crazy season.
Right.
That's fine. But to me, it's like, you're not taking care of your health. You're probably, your personal life is suffering. Your business is eventually going to suffer. It will, because if you suffer, your business eventually suffers. It feels the repercussions from that. And that's just not sustainable. Like, it doesn't sound appealing to me. I value the people that are like, I work, every second counts when I'm on.
Yes.
And then I'm off. And at 3 or 4 o'clock, I'm hanging with the kids or doing whatever I want to do, or I'm able to spend the time that I want to spend how I want to spend it. Because isn't that part of why we got in business in the first place? It's freedom.
Absolutely. And last Thursday was the perfect example. I mean, you
Yeah,
brought it up.
exactly.
Our daughters go to
Yeah.
school together.
Yeah.
And we both decided that Thursday, we had laptops by us if we had to respond to anything urgent, but we were in the moment and we were present with our families. That, and I'm not going to do the shameless plug of the Fractional Executive Network because it's not necessary. People will either realize that they need help growing or they won't. But that's why we created the Fractional Executive Network. It was really two reasons. One is that our fractionals, these are executives, 15, 20, 25 years in their companies with Fortune 1000, Fortune 500, Fortune 100 organizations that wanted that balance in life because they realized they've missed out on moments. So they have that flexibility. At the same time, they still wanted to give back to this next generation of business owners to say, don't make the same mistakes we did. Let us help you get your business on track, give you access to literally millions of dollars of executive staff without that investment so they can get those moments back in life. Because you don't get those moments back.
You don't.
I've never been to a funeral where someone said, Bobby made a kick-ass Excel spreadsheet. What am I going to do? Bobby's in the ground. Now nobody's going to do my Excel spreadsheet. That's bullshit.
Mm-hmm. I 100% agree. For those that don't really understand the fractional model, maybe they're like, I don't know if I've heard of fractional. I've never really hired somebody. Is that the same as a consultant? Is fractional work differently? Break down like just not even what you guys do necessarily, but just in general, the industry. Like, how does it work?
So in general, fractional sits in between an interim executive and a consultant. If you really look at it, fractional somewhat always existed, but in a different capacity, and it didn't accelerate until post-COVID. So a consultant will go in, they'll analyze your business, they'll look at a project, they'll write you a plan. Here, business owner, here's your plan. I hope that you're able to execute it. Call me with questions. Interim executives were completely the opposite. They were in your business 40 hours a week. They were running teams. They were doing what they needed to do to help get your business on track. We sit in the middle. We will write that plan. We will be tied to KPIs. We'll be tied to OKRs. We'll be tied to all the metrics to help get your business on track. The difference is we are not always there 40 hours a week. We have some clients, as I mentioned earlier, we're that 4 to 8 hours a month helping a specific leader or a specific department with high-level strategy. Some of our clients were there 1, 2, or 3 days a week. We have a batch of clients where CEO passes away, the senior leader of a department, a VP level, a C-suite, exits the company immediately, whether with or without cause, because they want to or not. We step in until that recruiter, fractional step in, whether or while that recruiter is trying to fill that role. Normally, most fractionals will know about 70% of the role in an interim role because you can't know everything. But while we're in that role as fractionals, we are helping to document, because many of times that individual leaves quickly, document the undocumented and help that business weather the storm. You're a small business. Your business today compared to running 500 podcast studios, a little bit different.
Yeah, very different.
The leadership style is a little bit different. We often say when you're a $5 million business to a $25 million business, your world changes. From 25 million to 50 million, another big change. Then we go 100 million, 150 million, 250 million, 500 million. Those are the increments that traditionally we have observed where businesses have to make that leadership change. And it's not because the leadership is bad. More often than not, the leadership needs to be leveled up or they've just hit that plateau.
And is the idea that it would cost more money and maybe be harder to find somebody to come in as a full-time person to fill this role? Maybe you need a chief marketing officer, right, to come in. You could hire a fractional person for maybe a few months, whatever it might be. And that person would be probably way less costly and has a good amount of experience that can come in and make an impact day one because they're used to doing that type of coming into a business, making the impact. Is that the idea behind it?
Yes and no. When you look at a fractional, because businesses are continuing to evolve, different skill sets are required. So while cost is a portion of that need for a fractional, so is the business within its maturity cycle. A $5 million and $10 million marketing professional looks at things a little bit different. They're a little more scrappy than an individual who's from a $100 million or $250 million company. So what it allows you to do is, yes, put those individuals in when you need them, but it also gives you the appropriate skill set when you need
Right.
it.
Yeah, exactly. And you may go from needing a marketing person today or maybe a COO today to then the fractional marketing person and the fractional CFO. And
Yes.
you may need to pull in different players off the bench as you need them, right?
Absolutely. Now, what's interesting though, Alex, is that from the fractional model, so many businesses, and this is where we talk differentiator, so many businesses out there are very siloed. We run a fractional marketing organization, a fractional financial organization, revenue, IT. We are just creating silos at that point.
Right.
When we went to market, and this was another mistake I learned from the furniture business, don't be everything to everyone. While you want to be helpful and you want to earn that revenue and you want to make sure that that client has everything at ease, you also have to be cautious because you're doing the client a disservice. The more you offer, the less of a specialist you are. And at the same time, the less value the client is really getting. So what we did is we chose specific areas within the C-suite, including CPCO, COO, CTO, CIO, CRO, CMO, but we intentionally left out CFO because we knew that that was a special skill set that A, is a saturated market, B, let the accounting firms handle it, but we take care of the rest seamlessly so that we can integrate. And as we uncover certain needs, the limitations of one fractional can be covered by another, simply moving someone in, moving them out, smooth transition.
It reminds me of a conversation I was having recently with a sales. I call him a fractional sales guy, but he's trying to kind of build similar to what you guys are trying to build or have already built. I think he's trying to do something similar where, because he would come into companies and they'd be like, we have a sales problem. And he'd dive under the curtain and be like, actually, you have an operations problem.
Yes.
You have a marketing problem. You have a hiring problem. And so it's like, I think what you guys are solving for is, hey, let's look at the business and let's see what the business really needs. And then let's plug in solutions that help support those.
It's very dangerous to diagnose before you've actually done the full evaluation. I don't ever want to go to a doctor and have them tell me that I need to have a major surgery when the reality is I have a hangnail. My hand hurts because this pinky in particular feels bad. It's a hangnail. I don't need to amputate my finger. But far too often, businesses go into other businesses and right away they want to do three things. First thing, let's cut costs. So how do we cut costs? Let's just fire people. Wait a second. Your people are part of your culture. Your people are your differentiator. Are the people really the problem? Is the problem the leadership? Is it looking in the mirror and saying, top down? Well, before we diagnose and say it's a sales problem, a marketing problem, an operations problem, let's get the full picture.
Before I go to my next question, if you're watching or listening right now, please hit like, subscribe, follow. It allows us to have awesome guests on the show like Michael, and you make sure that you don't miss any upcoming future episodes. Back to the questions. Does AI kill fractional or consulting work? I know your answer, but I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
So every day the answer seems to just pivot and shift a little bit. AI is only as good as the data that's put into it. There's open source and there's closed source data. But because there's still hallucinations, no matter how good AI gets, at the end of the day, I still think we need the human interaction. AI doesn't have feelings. AI feels what you want it to feel because you tell it what to feel. I recently called an insurance company. I was talking to a live individual. It wasn't a live individual. It was an AI individual. And I didn't realize it in the beginning. But once I did, I felt dirty and ashamed because I thought I was building a connection with this person. They were genuinely caring about what I had to say. It was just an AI bot that really didn't care. They were working through a script and an algorithm. I believe in business, relationships matter.
Yeah.
And our clients still believe relationships matter. AI can hands down be a digital assistant. AI can hands down help you create efficiencies. But this idea that AI needs to replace everything and get rid of people, that's exactly what I personally am against and our business is against.
Have you ever been on a call with, and you're not sure if it's an AI or human?
Yeah, that insurance company.
Yeah,
It was
I
very
mean,
awkward. Her name was Dorothy.
I mean, literally, like, there's times when I'm like, I don't know, and I'm thinking as they're having the conversation, how did you find out? By the way, how did you know? Because it seemed like you were sure that it was human.
I was confident because Dorothy asked me how the weather was
Hmm.
in Chicago, Illinois. I said,
Yeah.
Dorothy, don't forget, I'm in St. Charles. Oh, that's right. St. Charles weather is.
Oh,
And it
and then
gave
you're
me the
like,
weather. And I'm
okay,
like, hold
yeah.
on, Dorothy. You're good.
So
Well, you're not that good.
yeah. So there are times I'm like, and then I feel bad if I'm like, if it is a human being, and I'm like, hey,
Mm.
are you AI? And they're like, no, this is Shelly. I'm from North Carolina. It's like, oh God, now I feel like an asshole. You know what I mean? Because now basically I'm telling her she sounds robotic, right? But there was
Absolutely.
a time I did this the other day at the office. I got a call and I was like, I'm pretty sure this is AI. And I go, is this AI? And then I knew it was AI because she kept just kind of talking. The talk
Right.
track was just there,
Yes,
So I think they should disclose that. I think they should
I
say,
do
hey,
too.
this is AI, representative calling you, giving you a shout out. I think there's just something about honesty and transparency that's going to need to be on the front lines the more and more AI does things. Here's my thoughts on AI, Michael, in terms of how it impacts consulting, coaching, advising, fractional. And I've seen this happen in our business, and I'm sure you have in your business, is that now the starting point for companies when they need help, instead of ground 0 or 1, it's now 2, 3, or 4. Because now they can go through, and I see it with marketing, people can go through and they've created something in Claude. They're starting to write content with this. They've got a content strategy they built out with AI. Now, usually it's 98% off track and not what they really need, but they've started, right? They read a book, they gave it to AI, they said, build this out for my business. They've created their own website. If it needs tweaking, it needs content, video, whatever it is. They've Googled how to start a podcast, right? There's all these things. So they're actually starting from a couple levels up than what they were before. So as me as a business, I gotta meet them where they're at. Now they're starting at level 2 or 3. So I got to come in kind of level 4 and assume that they have the introductory stuff done, assume they've tested and tried these different things, and then come in and meet them where they're at with level 4 and usually redo some of the first couple levels and foundational stuff. But I think it's just forced everyone to level up because you're right. We all use AI every single day and it's an incredible tool. I mean, things we can do now. I mean, even with this podcast, AI will chop up the different camera angles in 50 something seconds. That would have took us hours to do before. And Claude's amazing. We do all the time. I built out a content strategy using Claude and it looks super nice. And it did it in like 5 seconds, but it was only because I gave it 3 or 4 or 5 minutes worth of my thoughts, insights, my documentation from what I saw from the client. And I gave it, this is the angle we need to go. This is why this specific business needs to do this. These are the channels that are going to matter. Here's how we're going to measure success. Here's what doesn't make sense that they're doing. Here's what makes sense that they're doing. Now put this all together and make it look pretty. And then fill in maybe some missing gaps. And that's where I think the power of AI comes into play. But it doesn't take over.
AI should never take over because once it does, we're no longer innovators. And I think you hit it on the head. AI can be a great tool to help level us up. But if there's not that entrepreneurial curiosity, if there's not that passion to wake up every morning and say, how am I going to be a disruptor? The reality is, I remind myself every morning, I look in the mirror and say, today's your day to disrupt to the industry. What does disruption mean to me? It means putting people back in seats, empowering the employees to become the best employees they can to level businesses up, to show that the employees are equally and actually dramatically more important than the AI tools and the efficiencies. And sorry, CEOs, the CEO profits. It's appalling when you look at the number of decisions that are made financially just to appease the shareholders. I recently saw, in fact, it was Sunday, I believe it was Bank of America had come out and said, stop getting rid of your most valuable asset, which are your people. Hire more. That goes completely cross-grain with what most organizations are doing right now. And they're a disruptor, much like we are trying to be, our little team of 10 individuals plus Dan and I. Because if we create the responsible business owners in the next generation, your daughter, my daughter, they're going to have a place to work. They're going to have the opportunity to be entrepreneurs, and they're going to have the opportunity to have that same American dream that our parents and our grandparents had.
Do you think the modern company looks a little bit more like, instead of, I think the old way to kind of grow a company was to hire. You just built the biggest company, you hired the most people. That was kind of like the badge of honor you wore of like, oh, we have 100 people, we have 1,000 people, And now it seems like it's sort of morphing into maybe a little bit less people, some AI, some tech, some fractional partners, some experts coming in. Do you see that as the sort of the modern business model? And then the other thing I was going to say on your point earlier is that the Salesforce just come out and said, they just recently came out and said, we made a mistake. We let go of too many people. We relied on AI, and now it's biting us in the butt.
Yeah.
We actually miss those people. So I think companies got be a little bit careful not to overhype AI and think it's going to solve every single problem you have. And we're going to fire 50% of our workforce. And it's like, you probably need those people. Maybe it's, a 10% tweak or something, or maybe those people are more productive. They're still there, but they're doing more potentially. They're adding more value to clients or whatever it might be. But how do you see the modern business, next 5 years, let's call it? Are you looking at the business model from your perspective that way too?
So for us, people are the most important resource we have in our business. And that's what we evangelize to all of our clients. It's our key differentiator. If we all use AI bots, we all use Claude, ChatGPT, and please, Claude, ChatGPT, don't sue me for saying this, but if we all use you, we become just a bunch of robots.
Yeah.
With the Fractional Executive Network, with the clients we work with, we're focusing more on leveling up the individuals within those organizations. We are focused on helping CEOs become authentic and compassionate leaders that lead by example and that bring their employees up through the ranks, their team. We shouldn't even really say employees. Yes, we are employed somehow, some way. I'm the CEO of the Fractional Executive Network. At the end of the day, I'm employed by our clients.
Right.
That being said, if we help to level those individuals up and help them learn, we're going to scale much quicker. We just recently wrote a blog. It's going to come out, I believe it's last week in June, where we talked about training and the importance. Everyone feels like, oh, what a perk. I just had a corporate trainer come in and tell me all these great things. The reality is that's not a perk. That's a tool that helps to grow your business. That is just one more resource. A vacation day is a perk. Having the ability to make your daughter's soccer game or your son's band concert, that's not even a perk. That should be a given.
I agree. What do you think the biggest challenge is going to be for you guys over the next 12 months in growing the business? If you said there's one thing that is going to be a big time challenge for us.
So for fractional workers, the biggest challenge is explaining to organizations that we truly can, and educating them that we truly can go into their business and we can help change their business. And while the initial onset, if we just look dollar to dollar, we look more expensive. It's the reality.
Versus other fractional companies?
Not versus fractional other companies, but more on the lines of versus a full-time employee. Let's just go C-suite executive to C-suite executive.
Okay.
You hire a C-suite executive. Let's say they have a $400,000 a year total comp plan. That's base salary. That's paying for their insurance,
right,
their Social Security, that's paying for their parachute package, bonus, etc. You bring a fractional in, we're $560,000.
Whoa. See, I would have thought you guys would be less.
It's $160,000 more, 40 hours to 40 hours.
Oh, that's 40 hours.
40 hours to 40 hours. But the difference, and this is where we get into thought we were less,
They're not working 40 hours.
we're not working 40 hours.
Right.
The other thing is you bring us in when you need us, when your business needs us, we're there. But as your business outgrows that particular role, needs to expand, you now are not paying out that parachute to get the new individual in. We just migrate a different fractional into that role.
Mm.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I wouldn't even have said it is more expensive at all then, because to me, if you really think about it, it's kind of apples to oranges, right? Because if you're working 40 hours a week, then yes, you're more expensive. But when you kind of pitch it as like, hey, you're going to spend $400,000 for a CEO here.
Yes.
For our fractional person, maybe you're spending $100K over the next 12 months.
Exactly.
And look what you're going to get as a result of that. And then if they want to bring someone on full time, they're ready, they're prepared, they have the infrastructure, right?
Total cost of ownership.
That's right.
It happens day to day. How many people listening to this podcast right now buy that economical car because it's less money? My payment is less.
Yeah.
What they forget is, what is your downtime? When your car goes in for a loaner, do you actually get a free loaner? What's your gas mileage? How often do you need to change tires, brakes, etc.? When you start to look at total cost of ownership in anything in our life, that's when you're really looking at real numbers. But so many people get hung up on that first dollar amount.
Yeah. I see it in marketing too. People, or they'll just bring in like we're going to hire a social media manager because they're 60,000 a year. And it's like, cool. But do they have proven success building out strategies for B2B companies? Have they won clients? Do they know how to build out this? Do they know how to build a team around? Like, no, they don't. So you're putting a Band-Aid on it. And yes, maybe you'll have some posts on social media, but it's not driving revenue. It's not building the brand that you want, because you need someone that knows how to actually do that, which could be a fractional. What are you doing all this for, Michael? When you get out of bed, honest to God, what is your driver? Because you probably could choose a less friction path. You probably could coast a little bit more. What is really getting you up out of bed and like, this, I'm excited to do this today?
So it's funny you asked that question. This year, Dan and I will be together 23 years.
Wow. Congrats.
Thank you. Thank you. When we met 23 years ago, we had a goal. He was going to retire at 55. I was going to retire at 52.
Young.
Yeah. Young. Still had a little bit more time. Remember, I'm only 26.
That's right. Yeah. You got a ways to go.
With that being said, Dan did a lot of work for a company. He was there 20 plus years. And he found out his role was moving to a different part of the country. Uproot our family and disrupt our daughter, or retire a year early. We decided retire a year early and figure out what was the right track, because we were fortunate enough. We were in that corporate executive gray space, if you will, where financially we can retire. Age-wise, we still have a lot of, what's the saying? Piss and vinegar. We're ready to get out there and still do things, but we want to savor those moments. So we woke up and we said there was one of a couple journeys, go back into construction. Been there, done that, need a new challenge. Go work a corporate job for a couple more years just to kind of stay busy. Been there, done that. Create a company where we can actually create responsible business owners and change the world. That's what we chose. So when I wake up in the morning, I wake up, one, again, looking in the mirror and saying, how am I going to be a disruptor? Two, what am I going to do with my daughter today? It's summer. When I'm done filming the podcast, she and I are going to go have lunch. Then I'm going to jump on my computer and I'm going to work my 40 hours a week, but not a minute over 40 hours. So when I wake up in the morning, why we started the Fractional Executive Network, it was to change the way we think about business, to make people important again, to make it where that work-life balance actually exists and to prove it can exist. And ultimately, give everyone the opportunity to have whatever their goals and dreams are. Not everyone is financially motivated. Some people want to have experiences. Other people want to have vacations. That's what motivates me, just to change the world. One person, and now we're 12 people, including Dan and I, change the world.
Love it. Well, Michael, this has been a great conversation. I appreciate
Is
you
our
coming
time
in
up already?
and joining me. Yeah. Unless
Holy
you want to
cow.
we can keep rolling, but it flies by. Yeah, it goes like that.
This is
Time flies when
outstanding.
you're having fun, you know?
This was actually a great conversation.
This is nice, right?
I appreciate you inviting me today. And
Yeah.
I look forward to all the audience feedbacks as they
Yeah.
like, share, and comment. And
Yes.
if they have any questions, by all means, reach out to me or I'll read your comments and I'll respond accordingly.
Love it. Where can people find you, connect with you, learn more about what you guys do?
So check us out at thefractionalexecutivenetwork.com. There we have 2 blogs a week that go out that talk about being servant leaders and how to actually change your business for the better. For your listeners, we'll go ahead and for the first 10 listeners that reach out to us, as long as they're like, sharing, and following your podcast, and they tag us in their comment, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set them up with one of our C-suite fractional executives, and they'll get a 1-hour consultation and a 1-hour follow-up.
Wow.
Depending on the fractional, it could be up to $1,000 value.
Wow. Get on it, guys. You hear that? It's good stuff. Michael, appreciate you joining me on the show today. Thank you guys for watching, listening, and we'll see you on the next one.